8 minutes paper, light it bright. 8 minutes privacy, research, insight. 8 minutes paper, feel the spark. 8 minutes privacy, making its mark. 8 minutes ticking, changing game. 8 minutes privacy, rewriting the name.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we cut through the noise and get straight to the insights you need to be truly well-informed. You know, in our digital lives, it often feels like we're caught in this constant tug of war.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
On one side, you've got the incredible convenience the connectivity technology offers, but on the other, there's this growing, persistent hum of concern about our personal data.
It's definitely there, a background worry for a lot of people.
It's a push and pull we all feel, I think, every single day. So that leads us right to our central question for this deep dive. Are our traditional ideas about privacy, the ones we grew up with, truly keeping pace with how technology actually works today?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. Today, we're digging into a fascinating new perspective on digital privacy, one that honestly challenges our conventional understanding in some pretty profound ways. Our core source for this exploration is a recent paper titled Frontiers, Digital Hermits, just out this year in the academic journal Marketing Science. The authors are Jeanine Miklós-Thal, Avi Goldfarb, Avery Haviv, and Catherine Tucker.
Yeah, and what's really interesting here is how this research connects to a much broader, ongoing conversation in, academia. It spans economics, information science, even AI.
So this isn't totally out of the blue.
Not at all. Discussions about information disclosure, what happens when information gets out there, they actually stretch way back. We're talking the early 1980s. You had economists like Stephen Grossman and Oliver Hart back in 1980 looking at mandatory disclosure in corporate takeovers, basically how transparency changes things.
Okay, so foundational stuff.
Right. Then Paul Milgram in '81 was exploring how information even gets represented and used in decisions. Fast forward to the 21st century, you've got researchers like Alessandro Acquisti focusing specifically on the economics of privacy.
How we value our data, that kind of thing.
Exactly. How consumers value it, how companies try to get us to share it. And then, remember Michal Kaczynski's work around 2013.
Vaguely. That was the predicting traits from digital footprints.
That's the one, showing how much could be predicted from, Facebook likes. So this new paper, it's not appearing in a vacuum. It's really the latest frontier in this long, rich history of trying to understand digital privacy.
Okay, let's unpack this new paper then. For most of us, I think our understanding of data has always been pretty simple. We mentally sort it, right? Is this sensitive or is it not sensitive?
Seems logical enough.
Like if you ask my favorite color or maybe my favorite flowers, that seems totally innocuous, harmless to share,
Sure, low-stakes information.
But then, if you ask about my political views, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, that's definitely sensitive stuff. Feels like a clear line.
It feels like a clear line. But the breakthrough here, and what's kind of unsettling, is how machine learning and predictive analytics are just completely upending that traditional division.
How so?
Well, the paper explains the critical point isn't just about the data you explicitly share that is sensitive. The real challenge now is that potentially sensitive stuff can be inferred.
Inferred, like guessed.
Deduced, predicted from data that seems completely harmless. Data you wouldn't think twice about sharing.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, maybe a bit creepy. Can you give us some of those examples? Because the paper mentions some that are pretty mind-blowing.
Absolutely. And these aren't hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Research has actually shown, for instance, that just liking something as random as curly fries on Facebook.
Curly fries? Seriously?
Seriously. It could correlate strongly enough to predict someone's IQ with surprising accuracy. Or, maybe even more startling, liking the Wu-Tang Clan.
Okay, the hip-hop group.
Yeah. That specific like was found to be predictive of sexual orientation in some studies. It sounds absolutely wild, I know.
It really does.
But it highlights the core point. It's not just about the data you hand over. It's about what powerful algorithms can figure out from these seemingly disconnected digital breadcrumbs you leave behind.
Wow, so it's not about a direct question anymore, it's about these hidden patterns. Like, they don't need to ask my income if they can guess it from my car, where I shop, my vacation pics.
That's exactly it. And this completely shifts the ground under our feet.
Yeah.
If companies can learn these complex correlations, how, say, your taste in movies might link to your health status or whatever, then your concern as a user changes, right? It's less about, is this specific piece of data sensitive, and more about, what else could this piece of data reveal about me? It's about its It's inference capability.
Inference capability. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a key term here. So how does this affect our decisions, when we're online, deciding what to click, what to share?
Well, the research predicts something pretty stark. A polarization of user choices.
Polarization, meaning?
Meaning people are heading towards the extremes. Fewer people are staying in that middle ground of carefully sharing some things, but not others.
Okay, tell me about these extremes.
So first, the paper identifies this growing group of users who basically get spooked by all this inference potential and decide to share nothing, absolutely nothing.
The digital hermits.
Exactly. They're so concerned about what might be inferred, they just shut it all down. Even stuff they wouldn't have minded sharing before, like, say, their favorite hobbies. It's a total withdrawal.
Wow. That's one reaction. But you said polarization, so there's another extreme. Are people just throwing their hands up?
That seems to be the other side of it, yes. The research suggests more users are swinging the other way and choosing to share everything. Sensitive, non-sensitive, doesn't matter.
Why would they do that?
Well, the thinking seems to be, if my sensitive stuff can probably be inferred anyway from all the harmless things I share, what's the point in holding back just some of it?
Sort of privacy nihilism. If you can't beat them, join them, data-wise.
Kind of. It means that middle group, the careful curators who only share non-sensitive data, that group is shrinking. You're either all in or all out.
I can see that logic playing out. Let's try an analogy. Say you love sharing pictures of your cat online. Totally innocent.
Yeah, that's
right?
like it.
But maybe you want to keep your political views private. Now, if the platform's algorithm learns from millions of users that people who post certain kinds of cat pictures also tend to hold specific political views.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Suddenly, your innocent cat photos aren't so innocent. They risk revealing something you wanted hidden. So your choice becomes stop engaging altogether, become a digital hermit. Or if you're less bothered, just share everything. Cat pics, political rants, the lot, figuring the connection will be made anyway. Our digital breadcrumbs are leaving a clearer trail than we think.
And that trail is built on something the paper calls a negative externality. It's a really powerful idea.
Explain that. Negative externality.
Okay, think of it like this. Every time I share my data, even seemingly trivial stuff, my music tastes, whatever, right? I'm not just giving my information away.
You're training the algorithm.
Exactly. I'm contributing to this huge collective learning process. My data, mixed with millions of others, helps the algorithm get smarter about correlations. And that smartness then affects everyone else.
Oh.
Because the next user, say you, might be really careful. You only share music tastes. But because of all the data I and others shared earlier, the system is already so good at inferring things from music tastes that maybe your political views are now much easier to deduce.
So, my earlier sharing makes your later attempts at privacy less effective.
Precisely. Even if you try to be selective. And this happens even if companies offer money for data. The underlying inference engine gets better regardless.
It's like a tragedy of the digital commons. Individual sharing collectively weakens privacy for everyone. Okay, so faced with this, how do companies react? Do they just keep grabbing all the data they can? Or does this hermital in-split change their strategy?
This is where it gets really nuanced and maybe a bit counterintuitive. The research suggests that patient companies, the ones focused on the long game, not just next quarter's results, they might actually choose to collect data more slowly.
More slowly? Why on earth would they do that? Isn't data the goal?
It is, but they anticipate something. They figure as their own ability to infer things gets better, users will start demanding much higher prices for that non-sensitive data because everyone realizes how revealing it could be.
Because its inference capability goes up.
Exactly. And those higher future costs could eat into profits down the line. So a patient firm might deliberately slow down its learning curve to manage those future costs.
So wait, a company might offer less money for sensitive data now just to slow itself down?
Oh.
That sounds backwards for a data-hungry business.
It does sound backwards, but it's strategic self-limitation. It's about long-term profit maximization, maybe even building a bit more user trust along the way.
So the price dynamics get weird.
Yeah, the paper finds the price for non-sensitive data tends to rise as inference gets better. But the price for sensitive data might actually fall, or at least not rise as fast.
Yeah.
But crucially, the total price for all of a user's data, the whole package, generally still goes up as the firm gets better at inference. It's a shift from just grabbing everything now to maybe cultivating data access more strategically over time.
Okay, this has huge implications for privacy rules, right? Because most policies we hear about, like GDPR in Europe,
The big one, yeah.
they focus a lot on giving us control. You know, the right to decide what's collected, the right to be forgotten, get your data deleted. But this research seems to say that focus might be missing the point.
That's a strong interpretation, but yeah, the authors argue that focusing only on data control might fall short. Because if companies can infer sensitive things from non-sensitive data you did allow.
Then just controlling the sensitive stuff directly doesn't help much.
Right, and that right to be forgotten. It's less powerful if the company can just re-infer what you ask them to delete, using other data points they still have on you.
It's like trying to erase a shadow without blocking the light source. Okay, so if controlling data collection isn't the full answer, what's the alternative? What should policy focus on?
The paper floats a really interesting and challenging idea. Maybe we should regulate the inferences themselves.
Regulate inferences? How would that even work?
It's tough, no doubt.
Yeah.
But the idea is instead of focusing only on what data goes in, policy could focus on what conclusions come out. Specifically, conclusions about sensitive characteristics.
So stopping companies from drawing certain conclusions, even if they have the data that could lead there.
That's the direction it points towards. It's a huge shift.
Are we seeing any moves like that in the real world? It sounds pretty theoretical.
Well, it's early days, but look at the EU's proposed AI Act. That's a prime example. It includes language aiming to prohibit biometric categorization systems that infer things like race, political opinions, religion, sexual orientation.
So it's targeting the inferred output, not just the input data used.
Exactly. It's tackling the inference head on. Now, the potential benefits, according to this research, could be significant if inferences are regulated.
People might worry less.
Consumers might be more willing to share that non-sensitive data, reducing the number of digital hermits. And that data could then fuel better services, better products, potentially benefiting everyone.
But the challenges must be huge. Defining a harmful inference, proving it happened, enforcing it.
Oh, absolutely. Cost, enforcement, defining the lines, huge hurdles. But the paper makes a strong case that our current focus purely on data control just isn't keeping up with the power of modern AI.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what's the big picture takeaway for us? What should we be thinking about differently after this deep dive?
I think the core insight is that privacy in 2024 and beyond isn't just about locking down specific pieces of information you deem sensitive.
It's bigger than that.
Much bigger. It's about understanding that even the most mundane digital crumbs you leave behind can be woven together by powerful algorithms to reveal things you never intended. It's about those hidden connections, those inferences.
And that means our policies, our regulations, might need a fundamental rethink.
It really pushes us to consider that, moving from managing data inputs what's collected to maybe scrutinizing the outputs what's inferred. It's definitely a complex moving target.
But understanding these dynamics, this inference capability, is crucial for all of us trying to navigate this digital world.
Absolutely essential.
So for you, the listener, here's something to chew on. What do you think about this idea of regulating inferences, not just data collection? Does that feel like the right direction, or does it open up a whole new can of worms, something to mull over until next time?
If you found this interesting and want to keep exploring AI and privacy, definitely subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.